What is your go-to fact that blows people's minds? When it's so quiet you can hear snow falling, you're actually hearing the static discharge of the snowflake hitting the ground. It gathers the electricity while it's falling to earth. I just learned this, there are more castles in Germany than McDonald's in the US. If you sit on a memory foam pillow and fart into it while slowly standing up, the pillow will suck the fart into the foam and store it so when your victim lays their head down, the fart will be released to their nose. Ancient Egypt and mammoths existed at the same time. 80% of Soviet men born in 1923 died during World War II. Greenland sharks can become up to 400 years old and don't reach sexual maturity until they're 150. All the Botox in the world, literally every gram, is produced in a factory in Westport, County Mayo, Ireland. Sharks have been around longer than the rings of Saturn. Edit, it's an easy Google. The rings of Saturn formed no more than 100 million years ago. We know what they are made of, how fast they move, and the rate of decay. Sharks have been around for about 450 million years. We have fossilized records of this. You know when you get up too fast and feel dizzy? Squeezing/stiffening your buttocks together stops the dizziness. Neptune was originally discovered as apparently inexplicable changes in the orbital path of Uranus, because a man named Leverrier observing these alterations decided that there must be an orderly reason for it. He calculated where another planet would have to be to cause Uranus to act like that, and still keep the laws of gravitation discovered by Sir Isaac Newton. He then sent his calculations to Royal Observatory in Berlin, and the prediction was within 1 degree of its actual position. George Washington died in 1799. Dinosaurs were discovered in 1824. George Washington didn't know dinosaurs existed. OMG usage can be traced back to 1917. As an Italian in the US, it's that pepperoni actually would mean peppers in Italy and has absolutely nothing to do with thinly sliced meat. Oxford University existed 250 years before the Aztecs existed. Oxford University first opened in 1096. The Aztec period was from 1345 to 1521. Oxford University is second only to the University of Bologna for continuous operation. Moose are naturally attacked by orcas. Tamales are one of the oldest dishes on Earth still commonly eaten today. There are more trees on planet Earth, (3 trillion), than there are stars in our galaxy, (800 billion). Note it says our galaxy, the Milky Way, not the entire universe. Still, I find the sheer number of trees on our planet impressive. In a group of 23 random people, the probability of 2 of them sharing a birthday is over 50%. A graveyard is connected to a church while a cemetery is not. The Goonies go underground on the exact same day, Saturday, October 26, 1985, as Marty travels back in time to 1955. The gene for 6 fingers is dominant, 5 fingers recessive. A tablespoon of oil can calm about half an acre of water. It spreads out to form a layer 1 molecule thick on top of the water. That's why oil spills are so harmful and destructive. The largest oil spill, BP, was about 61, 488, 636, 185 tablespoons, or about 68,000 miles of damage. Black apples exist. We tend to think of apples as being red, though there are, of course, some popular green and yellow varieties. But did you know there are also black apples, called black diamond apples? They're found in Tibet and are from the Huanya family of apples, also known as Chinese red delicious. Aside from the black outer color, actually an extremely dark shade of purple, these apples look just like other red delicious apples, down to the white flesh inside. The KPG impactor was so large and so fast that its pressure wave was already carving out the Earth while the upper edge of it was still in space. It punched a hole in the atmosphere, and would have blasted Earth matter into space. So there are probably bits of dead dinosaur floating in Jupiter's orbit. Nintendo was founded in 1889. They made playing cards. Coca-Cola was founded in 1892. They made drinks with cocaine in them. Dracula was published in 1897 and was set in the same time. Ergo, you could have a Dracula adaptation where Dracula offers Jonathan Harker a Coke and plays Nintendo with him, and it would be historically accurate. Noises commonly attributed to Bigfoot are actually the mating calls of female pumas. So Bigfoot is actually a horny cougar. You heard it here first. The British royal family are German. They changed their surname to Windsor during World War I to make themselves sound not German. Ergo, the line in Blackadder goes forth. I'm as British as Queen Victoria. So you're German, your father's German, and you married a German. Hippos are an invasive species in Colombia. Pablo Escobar imported them in the 1980s to guard his cocaine supplies. After his death, they were left unchecked and have started to breed. While some scientists fear their impact on local biodiversity, and call for them to be culled, they have been granted rights as interesting persons, meaning the cocaine hippos are people. In World War II, the Germans spent time building a decoy airfield out of wood. Fake wooden planes, fake wooden hangars, fake wooden people, everything. The RAF responded by patiently waiting for them to finish and then dropping a fake wooden bomb on it. The Saturn V rocket had less computing power than a Game Boy. The most efficient predator among all cats is the black-footed cat, which looks like a kitten and is about the same size. They have a 60% success rate on hunts and will throw down with just about anything. The US government airdropped wolves into Yellowstone to restore natural biodiversity. Wolves are a keystone species, and when humans wiped them out, it caused a trophic cascade. The deer population exploded and they promptly devoured everything their path. Now that the wolves are back, it's getting back to normal. Paleontologists recently found a neck vertebra from a Barosaurus lentis, generally considered an average, unremarkable relative of the more famous Diplodocus, that was twice the normal size. Extrapolating the size of the animal from there yielded a titanic, 50-meter-long Goliath, making it not only the largest dinosaur ever discovered, but a possible contender for the blue whale's crown as largest living creature ever found. The Earth's crust, which is too deep for humans to drill through, much deeper than the deepest ocean, compared to the rest of the planet, is similar to the skin of an apple compared to the rest of the apple. There are more ways to arrange a deck of cards than there are atoms on Earth. Whales are closer to artiodactyls, even toad-hoofed animals, than they are to seals or manatees. Whales are essentially just wet deer with extra steps. Adidas and Puma were made by brothers who happened to be Nazis. This thread is so interesting, but I doubt I'm going to remember any of these facts, which is sad. In the 1920s, Hawaiian music was the biggest selling category of sheet music. You could fit the global population on the surface of Lake Superior and each person would have 100 square feet or so. Also, the Great Lakes, in their current formation, are not even as old as the oldest cities in Earth. I only have Great Lakes facts. Oh, also, the North American Great Lakes account for 20% of all surface fresh water on Earth, while the African Great Lakes account for 25%. So between those two systems you have almost half of all fresh water on Earth. Giraffes have the same number of neck bones as humans. If cars could drive straight up, at 60 miles per hour, it would only take an hour to get to space. In the US, the dash lines on highways are generally 10 feet long, not 2 to 3 like most people assume. A dog's nose is so sensitive it can detect if you added 1.5 tablespoons of sugar to an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Edit typos, sorry. Edit 2, source, sorry my bad, it's 1 tablespoon in 1,000,000 gallons of water, or about 2 Olympic-sized pools. About 25 seconds in. There was one homicide recorded in New York City on September 11, 2001. The official crime stats don't include the terrorist attacks because that would tremendously skew the results. Almost 100% of the matter that composes plants comes from the air, not the ground. A wolverine can kill a moose. The beginning of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony sounds like this, dee-dee-dee-da. That is the Morse code representation of the letter V. V is the Roman numeral for 5, purely coincidence, as the fifth was written 40 years before Morse code was invented. Water is the ash of hydrogen. German chocolate cake was invented in New York by its baker Samuel German, who wanted to do his version of a Black Forest cake. The Earth is traveling through space at 1 million km per hour, 3 million mile per hour, relative to the cosmic background radiation, which means by the time you finished reading this, you've traveled roughly 700 kilometers, 420 miles, through space. When airline pilots are trained to fly a new type of jet, the first time they fly it is with paying passengers on board. All the training and testing is done in a simulator. Of course they have a lot of flight time in other airplanes and there is a specially qualified training captain in command. However, my first jet takeoff was LAXTEN with 68 unsuspecting passengers. 1. Majority of gun-related deaths in the States are suicides. 2. Honey never spoils. 3. Pirates practice democracy. 4. Windshield wipers were invented by a pianist. That Sahara Desert used to be under the ocean. And you can still find seashells in the sand there. We landed on the moon before someone thought to add wheels to suitcases. Moon landing 1969. Wheeled luggage invented 1970. A single gram of uranium contains over 20 billion calories. Edit: uranium is also a toxic chemical, meaning that ingestion of uranium can cause kidney damage from its chemical properties much sooner than its radioactive properties, which would cause cancers of the bone or liver. In Volkswagen's official parts catalog, one of the official Volkswagen parts, with its own part number, 199-398-500A, is a currywurst sausage they serve to their staff in Wolfsburg, Germany. 199-398-500B is ketchup. You can see your nose all the time. It is always within your field of view, unless you force your eyeballs to roll up as far as they go. Your brain filters it out of your perception to save resources. But if you pay explicit attention to it, as you may be doing now, it becomes obviously visible. Do not despair, though. After a brief time, you forget about it and it disappears again.